were sitting down, having coffee, and I asked you, like, what would it take to do this? And I mean, you were there. I don't know if you remember what you had told me, but I was intent on having a piece not only with your voice, your musical style, and everything like that, but something that was relevant to mainstream, that was timely, that could attract new audiences. And I think both of us just immediately were attracted to technology and this mix of acoustic and electronics, and it just went from there. And typically, I mean, I think both of us are guilty of this, but we like to dream big, and it just started snowballing, and one idea after the other, and here we are, almost to the premiere of Automation. I can't believe that it's almost here.
I know it is crazy to think that this dream project has now come to fruition, and of course we'll have the world premiere in May with Louisville and Teddy conducting. And I do remember our visit in New York. It was really, how do we create a new type of musical experience that is relevant to our current climate? And really, that's embracing technology, embracing visuals. For me, it was a challenge to challenge me to now incorporate electronics into a piece in a more robust manner. And then the concept of artificial intelligence and the concept of automation. So that was really great to dream big with you. Another question, because there is a visual component that has been less of my role. Of course, everything is collaborative with you, but why don't you talk to us about how did we get into holograms, and how does one go about that?
Well, I mean, everybody loves hologram. They look cool, and I was really thinking, and I definitely had you in mind. What's big right now in classical music is film. Live stagings of Star Wars, Harry Potter, of There Will Be Blood, and with live orchestra. And it just really gets you thinking that some of our best classical music being written today is in film scores. And you have that great, you really live right at the intersection of film score influences, but certainly symphonic and concert hall music. So, we're talking about automation, we're talking about tech. Let's go next level. Why don't we have an AI cellist? Well, I don't know if there's actually a pure AI being that can play the cello, but why not have the next best thing, which is have a hologram projected on stage, playing an AI generated part. And so, so from there, it was not an easy thing, but was figuring out how to do that. And, going down the rabbit hole and seeing, certainly the big thing that sticks out was Tupac at Coachella in 2012. Everybody still talks about it as if they were there, but Tupac, this great hip hop legend, who passed away, was resurrected to give a live performance via holograms. And then, there's Maria Callas, Roy Orbison. It was starting to really develop. And, it was like anything with both of us, was finding a way to make it happen. And there's this technology now of these scrims, HoloNet, which is made by Kaleida, Hologaz and Showtex also, where you can project 2D images on this nearly transparent scrim, and it appears like a 3D illusion. And so from there, it was really, we found our AI cellist to seat next to me, and we built out the concept and the music around that.
Awesome. So let's dive into the AI for a minute, because not everyone knows about that process, which fell more into my responsibility. And luckily, being a tenured professor at a fantastic liberal arts college, Occidental College in Los Angeles, I partnered with the computer science department, and specifically there with Catherine Leonard and her partner. And together they built an AI model, a generator, and back in August of 2021, we fed it my big, robust works. We fed Picture Studies, American Symphony, and then my percussion concerto called Losing Earth. So we wanted to give it 3 large scale works so that it could learn about my voice, my color, my instrumentation, my orchestration. And then at the very end of the learning mode of the AI, we also fed it my solo cello piece, which of course you've played, called Aiutami.
That's why the cello part's so difficult. That piece is hard.
So then fast forward to December when the piece is finally finished and it's been learning my voice and music for 4 months. We then feed the solo cello part, the learning mode section of automation of the concerto, to the AI. And then within a week's time, they sent back how the AI had learned learning mode. And to stay true to that process, I did not edit or revise anything. I literally took the data and embedded it into the score and into your part. And that's exactly what was created. And then of course, battle mode, which has a life of its own, it generated music that, as you say, is basically borderline impossible to play. And of course, we're going to replicate that somehow with some synth programming and MIDI, but you are going into the studio to lay these tracks down.
Yeah, I've got to prove my worth somehow, otherwise I'm going to be replaced. No, I remember, obviously I was aware of most of this process, but even me, who was very intimately involved in every aspect of this project, to hear the details of how that music was generated. I remember we had that Zoom call, and you were so excited, and you played for me those AI fragments, and my mind was just blown. It's weird, but at the same time, you could just see how this algorithm learned and how it was developing. You could see it even within 20 measures, how it went from a low range to the range that I was playing, to finding the rhythmic imitation qualities, the gestures, and I mean, the two interaction, it really feels as if a human and an AI being are having a musical conversation.
Yeah, it's crazy. It has that robotic rhythm to it, and there is that relationship between you, the human, and the AI. And of course, one thing I forgot to mention is that with AI technology, it's pretty easy for an AI generator to learn to actually just copy and replicate the music as written. But we didn't want that. We wanted it to learn and have a life of its own. And when it learns, it actually learns and writes music. So even though I was giving it fragments of learning mode, which are 5-note motives to 8-note motives, and then we sent it the whole piece of that section. When it was learning it, it wouldn't just learn those in pitches. It actually wrote up to 300 measures or 300 notes, and then from there, because it just becomes a life of its own, I sort of had to scale back and say, I'm just going to take this first section and let it be, because that's exactly how it learned it. But clearly, it's starting to write its own concerto, essentially.
I'm glad to know I'm not the only one that's going to be replaced. That Adam, the composer, is also going to be replaced. So.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I mean, just overall, looking back at, this is really, obviously the pandemic factored in, but it's been 5 years since we had that conversation. And I remember we were, as always, you can get a great idea and just went full throttle on it. But, I've come out here, I think 4 times now, 1 time, really just to get hone down the concept, a loose narrative. Obviously your wife, Janine, who's extremely talented scriptwriter and playwright in herself. It's great to have her around the kitchen counter.
She's amazing.
And just lend us a little bit of perspective from a narrative standpoint. And then just every single obstacle along the way, form, instrumentation, how the electronics run and mix in with the acoustic. Obviously, I was developing the visuals at the same time, how they would sink in, and it's really been, for me, one of the most collaborative processes. I thank you for listening to many of my crazy ideas and actually entertaining 1 or 2 of them. But for me, more so than anything, I think we really have a great piece. Obviously, I'm biased, but I will forever remember this process and everything, the obstacles and overcoming them, and seeing a vision through. That's really been probably the most enjoyable thing for me along this whole crazy wild ride.
Well, for me as well, it was a true honor and pleasure to collaborate with you. I love that we both dream big, and that's always my philosophy. Dream big and then scale back when you have to scale back. But now we're going to bring this to life, and of course, you're the main event. So thank you, my friend.
Well, hold those words until the debut and the world premiere. If I totally tank, then I have this on record as all the praise and everything. So you can't erase that.
Fair enough.